She was certainly, if not the top reporter on the Oregonian, because the paper had some Pulitzer Prize winners at the time, but she was certainly in the top tier of reporters.
She was not afraid of a story. She would go out and tackle whatever was asked of her.
She is absolutely one of the stars of the Oregonian's writing staff, of the reporting staff.
I think Ann had an open mind and saw people as individuals and equals, and treated people in a way that gave them respect and dignity.
She was sort of the classic Oregonian, strong, brought herself up by her bootstraps.
She was extremely good at her job and she loved it.
She was Ann Sullivan, and she just did her job her way.
Ann Sullivan might object to being described as a feminist, or, as one obituary put it, an iconic woman in Oregon journalism history. But her 51-year career at the Oregonian served as an inspiration for many women who aspired to their own newspaper careers.
She was a woman in a newsroom mostly full of men, and she had to operate around these men as if she was their equal. So Ann really knew how to take care of herself in any type of an environment.
She didn't ever consider herself a feminist, but she really paved the way for other women to be involved in journalism and to conquer their dreams.
Ann Sullivan was born as Anna Mae Halverson in 1918. In 1931, her family moved to Oregon, where she attended Multnomah Grade School. A straight-A student, she graduated from Jefferson High School, where she served as editor of the school paper. She worked her way through the University of Oregon, performing odd jobs like waiting tables, sorting cucumbers for pickles, and grading papers. She married Charles Sullivan in 1941. They later divorced. In 1942, she earned her degree in journalism from the University of Oregon.
She didn't go around showing off her education. She was very down to earth in terms of her conversation, and she stuck to specific issues. When she wanted to know something, she asked, and she wouldn't quit asking until she understood it fully. The School of Journalism there can be very proud of her.
She worked briefly for United Press before the Oregonian, facing a wartime shortage of men in the newsroom, hired her for $25 a week. She shortened her name to Ann Sullivan to fit the byline space in the newspaper.
Her process was Ann the Whirlwind comes in, gets the information she needs, tells the directors what time she needs the pictures taken. Ann was very direct and generally got what she wanted.
It was, as Oregonian reporter Tom Hallman Jr. has described it, a freewheeling era for newspapers, cigarettes, booze, and the clack of typewriters characterized the newsroom where she was the only woman.
When she first went to work, women at the newspaper wore suits and high heels, and she trotted her way, down to the docks and up the mountains probably, but it was different.
One of her colleagues in the newsroom, a police reporter, was a fellow University of Oregon graduate named Tom McCall.
She could do practically anything, and she was one that city editor Dick Noakes really relied on. If he needed someone to do something, he called on Ann. She covered many of the big murder trials and crime things. She covered welfare, she covered medicine.
Described by one editor as a star reporter, she was so good that when men returned from the war, she remained on the city desk.
Ann is a legend at the Oregonian and in Oregon generally. There are these movie stereotypes of the hard-bitten dame woman newspaper reporter, and Ann didn't live by those stereotypes. I think she created them.
One of her colleagues, the late John Guernsey, once described her as having more guts than an army mule.
She was fair, a very fair person, which went along with her responsibility. Anything that the city desk wanted her to do, Ann was always there to do it.
She was a reporter on many of the big stories in Oregon during her time on the city desk. She covered early open-heart surgeries at Oregon Health and Science University.
She received an award from the Oregon Medical Association for 40 years of journalistic excellence in medical writing.
One of her biggest stories was the Oregon State Penitentiary riot in 1968, and she is credited with helping to bring it to an end.
Anne had received some suggestions, I guess is the best way to call it, that she should go down and visit the state prison. So she did. She came back and she wrote a long story about the complaints and unhappiness of the prisoners. The night she turned it in, the prisoners rioted.
The whole thing, which could have ended terribly, ended peacefully, and this was because of Anne's willingness to play the role of communicator between the two sides.
Talk about a news beat. We scooped the world on that one. It's the kind of news story every newspaper should be looking for.
She did all this while raising 2 daughters as a single mother.
Mom took photos on some of her assignments, and if there needed to be a person in the picture for scale, that was me or my sister, or both of us.
I think the legacy that my mom leaves to future journalists is you can do any story, you can be whoever you want to be.
Throughout her career, many women considered her to be an inspiration.
Do your feet ever touch the ground?
Surely. Many times.
Many times.
I crash.
But you do have a lot of fun doing what you do. Do you?
Oh, yes. People are interesting and people are nice.
She retired in 1993 at the age of 74 after a career spanning 51 years. When asked how she'd like to be remembered, she said, "Tell them I was a reporter." Anne Sullivan died in 2008 of congestive heart failure at the age of 89.
Well, Anne, this is probably an award you may not have expected to receive, but everybody's glad you have it.
What we have today is a result of a lot of hard work by people like Anne Sullivan, who loved this community, who loved her work, and did a great job every chance she had.
I'm real proud of this award going to Anne. She certainly deserves it, and so does her youngsters, Wendy and DeAnn. It's a good family, and all because of Anne and the devotion she gave to her family and her children.
I can't say enough what an amazing mom you were and how much I love you and appreciate you, and know that you're watching us and writing stories even as we speak.